Hi and welcome to CBN4's Primetime News package for this evening. I am Alien Christopher. First up tonight, and after what seems to be an extended holiday season for the boys of the St. Mary's Primary School, the grade 5 and 6 students are finally back at school. The school, having been impacted by the passing of Hurricane Maria on September 18th, is not able to use the original classrooms on the top floor due to damages to the rooftops.
Well, no, currently, because we had experienced a lot of damage, especially in the upper floor with our grades 4, 5 and 6 classes, we have had to move our grade 5 and 6 children down to classes in grades 2 and 3 just in this initial week while we get the repairs done to the remainder of the school upstairs. And so we'll be phasing in when they return, the rest of the school returns to school.
The school hopes to welcome the other students, the grade K to 4, back at school very soon. But the boys who will be preparing for the schools-based national assessment exam are given priority.
The exams for the end of the year, so it was important that we started with our grades 5 and 6 boys so they continue their learning in preparation for the exams at the end of the school year. Well, we are hoping within the next couple of weeks the school will be fully functional again. So this week we're going to be working on a couple more classes, or 3 or 4 classes, to see that they start, and then maybe next week perhaps 3 and 4. We'll see how it goes, and then the following week the rest of the classes, so that the whole school can be functioning in about the next 2 to 3 weeks.
The school principal, Mary Didier, stated that while the teachers are expecting that the boys be very talkative post-Hurricane Maria, the teachers are being trained to deal with the situation.
Well, we're going to expect that the children will be hyper in some cases. They'll have a lot to say, so they'll be very, very talkative. But we have our staff have been trained to deal with whatever happens in the next few days. We'll give our boys space to talk, but we'll also be trying to calm them down as well so that they can get back to some normalcy.
She also thanked those who have been very patient with the school thus far.
Our parents, and thank the wider community too for their patience while we get SMP back on its feet.
That was principal of the St. Mary's Primary School, Mary Didier. Meanwhile, Ngozi Thomas, a grade 5 student, said that he is very happy to be back at school. Thomas indicated to CBN4 that all the material things can be replaced, but he thanked God for life.
School was going to be let out, but at that time I was like, they said no. So I was frustrated. I wanted to go back to school because children need their education. What I can say is that children think about it. The materials can be replaced, but your life cannot be replaced. Say thank God for life. That's what I can say.
Ngozi Thomas, a grade 5 student at the St. Mary's Primary School. And still at the St. Mary's Primary School, after 1 month post-Hurricane Maria, on the first day back at school, the boys are receiving psychosocial training before any academic classes. Principal of the St. Mary's Primary School, Mary Didier, said that a trained psychologist have begun assisting the boys in that regard.
Well, for the next 3 days, we are expecting the boys to take part in some psychosocial training where they will be able to give their experiences of the hurricane that they have had. We know that the hurricane will have affected them, and it would be unfair of us to expect them to go straight into learning basic subjects. So we needed them to have the opportunity to share their experiences with one another and to begin the healing process. So for the next 3 days, that's what the schedule will be.
The training allows the boys to share their stories and to gauge the trauma they might have experienced. Some of the boys lost family members, some have been relocated, and it is expected that the boys will need to be eased back into a normal way of having school.
We have a Miss Webb, who is a highly trained counsellor who will be leading the sessions. In fact, she is now with our grade 6s as we speak, and she will in a little while join our grade 5 classes to start that discussion rolling.
The training will be ongoing for the entire week. With various schools opening in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, The city of Roseau is being powered up with electricity. Students who live outside of Roseau, still with no electricity, may not have a place to do research after school anytime soon. Why? Because the Roseau Public Library remains uncovered. Here's Commissioner Dominic to tell you more.
Many of us will remember the Roseau Public Library as the place of study on any given day when you have extra homework. Post Hurricane Maria, right behind me, one can see the Roseau Public Library still almost a month after the storm. Lots of debris stacked up at the front. Post Hurricane Maria, the Roseau Public Library is still uncovered. Commissioner Dominic reporting here for CBN4 News.
Dominica's sole water company, the Wasco, was most severely affected by the catastrophic flood waters which would channel through the countless canals, rivers and waterways, receiving more than 12 inches of sustained rainfall, severely impacting every water system on the island. To this date, water has been restored to the city of Roseau and to other parts of the country, and the Wasco has been conducting water testing at several locations around the island where water has been restored.
To almost 60% of our customers, a little over 60% of our customers. I think that is a great feat. Let me tell you some of the areas. The city of Roseau has water. Parts of Fokole has water. That's the industrial side. We have Newtown, Kings Hill, parts of Ems Hall, Wallhouse, Louisville, Castle Comfort, Maho, Canefield, Goodwill, Bath Estate, Tarish Pit, Loda, Cochrane, Lower Coptol, parts of the Kalinago territory, Calibishi, Monjon, Riviere Cyric, parts of Casabros. And I have to apologize to the people of Casabros. We had stated that all of Casabros had water, but we encountered some problems in Casabros, and so there are certain areas still without water that should have had, but we have to revisit the Casabros situation. So we apologize to them, but parts of Casabros has water. Grandfond, there's water in Grandfond, there's water in Salisbury, Portsmouth, Cottage, Tukari, Point Michel, Loubier, Citronay, parts of Granby. We've just restored water to Mont Prosper and Lower Check Hall, and soon enough St. Joseph, Layo and Mero later this week could have access to water.
Although some persons may still be concerned about the water quality, the Wasco is satisfied with the results of the water quality analysis. The Wasco assures the public that the tap water meets World Health standards and is safe for drinking.
Whether you have a storm or not, the Wasco consistently conducts water analysis. So we go out there and we collect water at various standpipes throughout the country, and we test the water to ensure that it meets World Health Organization standards. Now, of course, people would naturally be concerned after a storm as to what would have happened. But our process of restoration means when we restore water, we restore potable water to the communities that would have had water. So that also includes going out and doing a water analysis check. And we have a responsibility as the Wasco to ensure that the water is safe, that the water meets World Health Organization standards. And I can tell you, in all the communities where we have restored water, we are extremely satisfied with with what the analysis shows, that the water is safe for drinking. You also have the Environmental Health Department, who would also go out there and test the same water to ensure that what the Wasco's findings are accurate. So they do that in the interest of the public. And from both institutions, we can verify that the water is safe for drinking. So that is not an issue. Our water that we supply is safe for drinking, it is potable water, and we are very confident in the results that we have gotten. So
the Dominica Water and Sewerage Company continues to give regular updates about the progress being made via radio broadcast in both English and Creole. 2 adult males are in police custody, arrested on suspicion of a suspected homicide which occurred in the community of Silver Lake on the weekend. The public relations officer of the Dominica Police Force, Pelham John Baptist, said that about 5:15 p.m. on Friday, the 20th of October, a 52-year-old male, Eddie James of Silver Lake, sustained gunshot wounds to his lower back and chest. James was transported to the Accident and Emergency Department of the Princess Margaret Hospital, where he was examined and subsequently pronounced dead by a medical doctor. A coroner's inquest will be convened and investigations are still ongoing. Anyone with information can assist the police with the investigations and contact the Criminal Investigations Department at telephone numbers 266-5164, 266-5165 and 266-5119, or Crime Stoppers Dominica at telephone number 1-800-8477. And there has been a number of layoffs since the passing of Hurricane Maria. Well-established businesses such as Astafans, WeChurch, Fortium and Autotrade have all laid off some of their employees. Labor Commissioner Ross LeBlanc revealed that due to the circumstances, a number of employees and employers have been seeking advice from the Labor Division with regards to their rights.
Provided for in law, and it's an option that the employer has, and he can only use it if he has the right in law to terminate the employment. So it's an option. So it is to say that it's not a first choice for the employer to lay off. The employer resorts to the legislations that provide for him to use his discretion instead of firing the employee, to lay off the employee because it is not his intention to sever ties with the employee, but because of the situation that has warranted termination of the employee, he is laying off the employee rather than firing the employee. So that's number one. In this particular situation, many employees are subject or may be subject to the possibility of being made redundant, and that is where the employer actually has the authority. Rather than making that worker redundant, which is a form of severance or termination of employment in our Protection of Employment Act, which is Chapter 8902, and redundancy falls under Section 11. The employer may, considering all things, perhaps want to retain the skills or so of the trained persons that would have been employed with him, or that he's hoping maybe to continue business or recover from business, would choose not to make redundant that worker, and therefore has the option in laying off that worker.
LeBlanc went on to say that given the circumstances, many businesses are now incapable of functioning, and the law has given the employer the option to terminate the employment with an employee. LeBlanc emphasized that employees who have achieved 3 years or more with an employer does qualify for severance pay or redundancy benefit.
Those employees who have not attained 3 years does not qualify for severance or redundancy pay. However, their entire wages must be paid to them, including any accrued vacation leave that they may have accrued during the time that they have been working. Many employers sever the employee without providing them with that payment. And the law requires that if they are being terminated, they must be paid everything that they have worked for, including any vacation. The vacation is accrued vacation, so any vacation that they have not yet received, they have a right to be paid for it if they are being severed from the work. So it is very, very important to advise all employers who are planning to make redundant the workers rather than laying them off, that they must pay them off completely, their wages and all their accrued vacation.
LeBlanc revealed that a particular area that has been some concern to employees and employers alike is the issue of gratuity. LeBlanc acknowledges that a number of persons believe that they should qualify for gratuity. He gave some clarification on the matter.
Except if there is an agreement or an employment contract that provides for gratuity for the workers, or where there is a collective agreement, for example, in firms where there's a trade union bargaining on behalf of the employees, and there is a collective agreement between the trade union and the employer where a gratuity is provided for the employees, no firm is obliged to pay anything more than the wages or accrued vacation to an employee when the employee's service is no longer required by the employer. It is understood that the employee is being paid his wage every week or every fortnight or every month during his active service, and that the employer deals fairly with him when he pays him for his work. Therefore, except if there is a contract or some agreement prior to that moment of severance that spoke of a gratuity at severance, the employer is not obliged to pay. However, some employees, in gratitude for the work that the employee might have carried out, usually give a check, a thank you check, some sum of money which is not specified, because the law does not oblige that sort of gratuity, which many people say, no, I've been working for 18 years, I work all my life, I've been there for more than 30 years, and they think it's an unfair thing for the employer to send them off without paying them some gratuity. I want to repeat myself, our law does not provide for any such payment. Our law provides for employees who've been employed with a firm for more than 3 years, if they are being made redundant, to receive a severance pay which is regulated and calculated in law.
And in other stories, the National Cooperative Credit Union, the NCCU, has formalized a package of recovery relief measures in keeping with its commitment to assist members and help stimulate national recovery following the passage of Hurricane Maria on September 18th. Cognizant that members have suffered significant losses, the NCCU Board of Directors has taken the following decision to provide relief to members to assist them in rebuilding their homes and their lives. A 4-month deferment of payment on all loans for members who require a deferment of loan installments, a 4-month waiver of interest on all loans for affected members, a waiver of fees for a skipper loan service, request for deferment to be made by November 30th, 2017. The deferment of loan payments and waivers of interest are intended to provide members with some more disposable income which could go into other areas of need. Members requiring a loan payment deferment are being invited to visit the Roseau, La Salette, St. Paul, Castlebruce, St. David's and Vickers branches and the Thibault and Delices sub-offices Monday to Friday between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. to process a deferment request. Additionally, members in the North can make their requests at the Portsmouth branch of the Central Cooperative Credit Union Limited on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, commencing on Wednesday, October 25th, 2017 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Board of Directors and Management wishes the NCCU members and all Dominicans God's blessings, health and strength as they focus on rebuilding the lovely Dominica. And since the passing of the deadly Category 5 hurricane, everyone who experienced Hurricane Maria has a story to tell. This elderly gentleman gave CBN4 details about what happened or what he saw on the night.
Philip John Baptist, 86 Kennedy Avenue. I used to live here from the time I was 5 years old or more, and then back to Cork Street and over to Stock Farm, 42 Simon Boulevard. Well, on the day of the hurricane, the 18th, I was at home and I was there listening on the radio, and when they said, well, it was number 5, I said, what? But it had started heavy already, and later I heard a fellow scream and I was wondering what was happening. I heard a big noise and a platform fly across, and the fellow had to jump and calling women not to jump and hold them, and about 3 or 4 of them, and afterward they disappeared from the house. And next day when I saw the house, it was all wide open. And then I at my home, I stood on a stool, and then I hold the fridge, and there was the wood was falling down, everything was moving away. And then a little area I stayed shelter in, but I was all wet down. And then I stayed there until daybreak, and then I see what was happening. I changed some of my clothes, and then I went down to another house.
And in other stories, Chief Environmental Health Officer Fredinia Carbon says that with the passing of Hurricane Maria, the Environmental Health Department has placed much emphasis on ensuring that healthcare facilities, shelters and restaurants have water that is safe and free of harmful bacteria. Fredinia emphasized that during this time of recovery, there is likely to be more harmful contaminants in the water, so the environmental health is doing its best to ensure that there isn't an outbreak of communicable diseases. Carbon explained because of this reason, the environmental health is seeking to cooperate with restaurant owners, particularly those wanting to reopen in Roseau. Carbon stressed that there are standards that have to be met before restaurants are given the okay to open.
Restaurants in Roseau, it's been 2 weeks now that we have moved to recovery. So we are now looking at food places. In the beginning, we had some places opening without permission. So what we went out to the media and we said, anybody who's going to open, they need to inform us so that they can re-register. Because what we are doing as a department, we are re-registering our food places, and then we are doing an assessment. And when we do our assessment, if you have not met the standards, we put you as pending, and if you have met the standard, we put you as approved. So as you can realize, we have had a lot of persons to say, well, you cannot open, you have this to do and you have this to do. So we have been out as a team going through Roseau. We started concentrating on Roseau. We have since have officers in the out district also doing the same. So we do an assessment, and for now we maybe have about 42 places that do have permission to open.
Carbon went on to give details of the requirements that is requested by the environmental health before being approved to reopen.
First of all, you would have to restore your place to the status. It would have to be clean. So you would have to remove all the dirt, all of the junk. You would have to have potable water. You would have to have your officers should be certified, which they should be, I mean, unless they just expired. And you would actually have to meet the minimum standards. We have a minimum standards for both the building and your kitchen. And for us, the kitchen is the most important part of it. So we would look for rodents, we would look for things like flies, we would look for things like cockroaches, all of those things we would look for. And then we actually have a form, and we have the violations that we would, if you meet those violations, you would say, well, you'd have to do that. Some persons we have visited over 3 times. So we go to the place, and then we say, you need to do ABC, but they prematurely come to us and say, oh, but I'm ready. When we revisit, sometimes they still have certain things that they need to do, so we say we cannot let you open, you would still need to do other things. So what we are planning to do, well, in fact, we have now submitted the form for printing. We are actually going to put an approval on the places that meet the standards. So we have designed an approval certificate that we will be putting up in the places that have permission to open, that says approved, Environmental Health Department approved. So these places, when from tomorrow we'll start putting up the stickers, so persons can actually have an idea of the places that are open by Environmental Health.
She went on to say that although much emphasis has been placed on businesses in Roseau, the environmental health is extending its services to businesses out of Roseau as well. Carbon is asking that business owners make an effort to contact the Environmental Health Department before reopening to avoid committing any offense.
We ask persons to let us know. I'm ready to open. I have done what I'm supposed to do. I'm ready to open, so we can come and do the assessment. When we do the assessment, if you have met the standard, we say, all right, go ahead and open. If you do not meet the standards, when we ask you, we give you directives on what are some of the things that you need to do before you can open.
The Chief Environmental Health Officer believes that although Hurricane Maria has impacted the country quite negatively, the environmental health can utilize the opportunity to better much of its policies and procedures.
We do have waste that we definitely need to see how we can reorganize our waste system, and for pickup, even with as part of the whole planning division, we environmental health sits on the planning board and part of the technical committee, so we did also have to really look at some of the areas that we give people permission to build. We have to think a lot about our activities we carry out. We carry out on a day-to-day basis, ensure that people do meet these standards. Because one of the things that happens is that we sometimes we allow persons to put up food places in areas that maybe they should not have, and persons who should not have. So we have to put a little more emphasis on the training, and because we really didn't expect persons to want to reopen in areas that they have done. We presently have a new policy where no street vending is allowed in Roseau. So because of the conditions that we have in Roseau now, that is one of the policies, we have no street vending. We are hoping to work with the Ministry of Agriculture to see if we can organize for somewhere to sell our fresh produce. As you notice, we have it scattered all over Roseau and in all of the dust. That is not very healthy for the individuals. So we're looking at those things. And I think as an island, Dominica, I think after Maria, it has taught us a lot of things, and we're hoping that after, in our rehabilitation phase, we can really do things better than how we had it. Even looking at the Ministry of Health, Environmental Health, and see some of the things that we need to do.
And this has been the presentation of CBN4's Primetime News package for this evening. My name is Alian Christopher saying thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your evening.